Hey gang, it's another week of bedtime stories with Miss Terry. Today I have two really good ones. First one, Giraffes Can't Dance. This is, I think, my favorite book in the whole wide world. And it's also my daughter Dana's favorite book. It's all about Gerald. Now Gerald doesn't think he can dance. He actually, in the book, feels really bad about himself and calls himself clumsy and a clot. And the other animals, they all laugh at him. It's really kind of sad there in the middle. But then something happens. There is a voice that says, hey, maybe you can dance just in a different way. Maybe you don't have to dance just the way everybody else does, but you can dance in your way, Gerald. I kind of like to think of that voice as Jesus. We'll see. See if you can find the voice as we move through the story. Here we go. Giraffes can't dance. Gerald was a tall giraffe whose neck was long and slim, but his knees were awfully crooked and his legs were rather thin. He was very good at standing still and munching shoots off of trees. But when he tried to run around, he buckled at the knees. Now, every year in Africa, they hold a jungle dance where every single animal turns up to skip and prance. And this year, when the day arrived, poor Gerald felt sad, because when it came to dancing, he was really very bad. The warthogs started waltzing, and the rhinos rock and rolled. The lions danced a tango that was elegant and bold. The chimps did a cha-cha with a very Latin feel, and 8 baboons then teamed up for a splendid Scottish reel. Gerald swallowed bravely as he walked toward the floor, but the lions saw him coming, and they soon began to roar. Hey, look at clumsy Gerald, the angels all sneered. Giraffes can't dance, you silly fool. Oh, Gerald, you're so weird. Gerald simply froze up. He was rooted to the spot. They're right, he thought. I'm useless. Oh, I feel like such a clot. So he crept off from the dance floor and he started walking home. He'd never felt so sad before. So sad and all alone. Then he found a little clearing and he looked up at the sky. The moon can be so beautiful, he whispered with a sigh. Excuse me, coughed a cricket, who had seen Gerald earlier on. But sometimes when you're different, you just need a different song. Listen to the swaying grass and listen to the trees. To me, the sweetest music is those branches in the breeze. So imagine that the lovely moon is playing just for you. Everything makes music if you really want it to. With that, the cricket smiled and picked up his violin. Then Gerald felt his body do the most amazing thing. His hooves had started shuffling, making circles on the ground. His neck was gently swaying and his tail was swishing round. He threw his arms out sideways and he swung them everywhere. Then he did a backward somersault and leapt up in the air. Gerald felt so wonderful. His mouth was open wide. I'm dancing, yes, I'm dancing, Gerald cried. Then, one by one, each animal who'd been there at the dance arrived while Gerald boogied on and watched him, quite entranced. They shouted, "It's a miracle! We must be in a dream. Gerald's the best dancer that we have ever seen." "How did you learn to dance like that? Please, Gerald, tell us how." But Gerald simply twirled around and finished with a bow. Then he raised his head and looked up at the moon and stars above. "We all can dance," he said, "when we find music that we love." I love this book. Gerald just needed to dance the way Gerald needs to dance. You don't have to dance the same way. Now, I personally don't think I'm a very good dancer. I certainly can't do ballet or big flips or anything, but that doesn't mean I can't dance. I just dance the way I want to dance. So when somebody tells you, "Oh, you can't do that," don't you believe it. You totally can do it, especially if you try and you figure out a way to make it work just for you. All right, that's my first book. Second book. This is a book that I just recently found, and it's all about how God made the earth. It's called simply Creation. Here we go. How did God make this big, beautiful earth? In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved over the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear. And God called the dry land earth, and the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass, and the fruit tree yielding fruit, whose seed is in itself. And it was so. God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also, and God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And God created the great whales. He blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas. God created every living creature that moved, the beasts, the birds, and the creeping things, and it was good. God then made man and woman, and God said to them, replenish the earth so that everything may multiply and be fruitful. He blessed them, these two who were most like him. And when the evening and the morning of the sixth day had passed, God was done, with his work. He looked at everything he had created and made, and behold, it was very good. So on the seventh day, he rested. The end. So God, he created everything. All the birds, all the animals, all the trees, all the sun, the moon, the stars, the clouds, everything. And each and every one of you. And he made you absolutely perfect in just the way you're supposed to be. That's our stories for tonight. I hope you sleep well. See you next week. Bye.